Normally when I formulate a homily, I think of it in terms of like quadrants or three sections, and when I do that, it helps me to remember each one. If I just break it down, I kind of like have a way of, it helps me to remember what I'm saying. I try not to be too attached to the words that I'm saying, just kind of just get the essence of it. And I found myself last week when I was driving home, I was thinking, now I remember, like, so the sections were like, you got the spirituality of Clemenza from The Godfather, right? And then we were talking about religion. That was the second section. And about the palms and the cross and things like that. And then you have this response to these early Christian community after the death of Jesus. So you heard like this response. So what was a response? And as I'm driving home, I'm thinking, nowhere in my notes, nowhere in anything that I was preparing was something that came out of my mouth about when you look at between birth and death, you have life and this energy of life. And what is life itself? This aliveness. What is aliveness? Just think of like life is all around us. Birds, cats, dogs, trees, certainly human life. What is life itself? It's just so in around us and in our midst all the time that it's hard to really stop and look at it. Like, we don't really stop and go, wow, how are we even alive? What is this? Because it's just all around us. And so what started to come out of my mouth was the sense of like, is that aliveness an expression of the living God, the beauty, the magnificence, the heart beating 100,000 times, the digestive system? And I thought I started laughing because the passage before that was with the prophet Jeremiah, where he's saying, don't worry about what you're going to say. I'm going to put my words in your mouth. And all of a sudden it occurred to me, like, I was not preparing to say any of that, and yet this was somehow coming out of my mouth. And I'm thinking, I didn't even realize it, but is it possible that just like operating through whatever I was saying, whatever you say in your homilies, to that God is basically saying, get out of the way and let me speak through you. This essence of life itself. Now, what do you think? I mean, I'm watching all, I wish it'd be great. We have like this big dialogue, this aliveness. Now, when we have life, we also have, and I guess it was probably what I was trying to say, is you have dimensions of life. You have qualities of life. You have life, aliveness, but then you have qualities of life, dimensions of life, depths of life. You have Clemenza is an expression of life, but it's like a lower consciousness. It isn't really that deep. It's not even really thinking. And then certainly when you look at sometimes the religious practices where we can like miss the forest for the trees, we start focusing on the external and incidentals as opposed to what's really going on, which is how does any of this lend itself to developing this relationship with Christ and seeing ourselves in terms of being a spiritual being born again. And then, of course, the depth of these people in the first community where they suffered greatly. Even in the letter from in Timothy, Paul's in prison and he's handing over he's laying hands on, Paul's laying hands on Timothy saying, I want to encourage you. I'm not giving you new revelations. I'm not giving you anything new. But what I do want to give you is I want to give you encouragement to persevere in the midst of difficulty. Because Timothy is preaching and he feels like no one's listening to him. He feels he's falling on flat ears because you got the wrong guy. And Paul is saying, no, you've been called, keep going, persevere. God is going to give you the strength. God is going to give you the ability to deal with and whatever the task you have at hand. So again, that's another question to ask ourselves. as you're living your life, do you believe in the midst of your difficulties, do you believe that you have a power beyond yourself to give you the strength you're going to need to deal with whatever you're dealing with in your life? Do you believe that? That is our faith. That is a dimension of spirituality, that I'm walking around the planet in this awareness, in this state of being, that I have a power beyond myself to help me in my difficulties. So when you look at like to be human, let's try to say this right now. There is no satisfaction in being human. None. I don't care what you achieve, what you acquire, what you have, blah, 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 the letters after your name, blah, blah, blah. It never, ever, ever, ever ends in any type of satisfaction. There's no satisfaction in being human. When Jesus is saying that which is flesh is flesh. It's here today and gone tomorrow. The superstars, I was thinking later, I was listening to something that was like New York, you know, Frank Sinatra, famous and everything like that. You talk to kids today, Frank Sinatra, they don't even know who you're talking about. They don't even know who you're talking about. Here today, gone tomorrow. In the moment, you know, Las Vegas was his playground, right? And now, who's Frank Sinatra? So there's no satisfaction in being human. So let's not even try. Let's give it up. And when Jesus is saying that which is spirit, so in other words, the question to be born again, what does that mean to be born again? I think it means, and I'd love to ask you what you think it means, right? Because what the heck do I know? To live my life that I am the essence of who I am, essence of who you are, is a spiritual being. You are an eternal spirit. I don't know whether we come from someplace, we come in through the womb, we come into this experience. We're here to grow in that awareness that I am a spiritual being, to drop the ego and the human and all these things that ultimately lands in no satisfaction. Would you say that's true? Just a little nod in your head, right? So why do we keep on doing that? Right? Reminds me of my nephew when he was a little kid. He was like pouring water into the sand, getting a bucket, pouring it in, and it would drain through the sand, you know? And he would like put his hand on his hip and go, Uncle Drew, this is a complete waste of time. Why do we keep doing this? Right? What's the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over. So there's no satisfaction in being human. It's being able to enter into and experience myself, and as I look at all of you as we are all spiritual beings living in these bodies. Just pause for a moment and get a sense of that. Eternal, spiritual being. You know? I like Eckhart Tolle. I was listening to something he was saying, like when you try this out, when you're like, you deal with in the world of objects, right? You take a glass from the cabinet, you pour a drink into it, you drink it, you taste it, you go and you brush your teeth, you squeeze the tube, you got the toothpaste, you put it down, you do this thing, you rinse your thing, you put the water in. Like, try to pay attention to your relationship with all these physical objects. There's this you, there's this spiritual being, toothbrush, toothpaste. Wow. And just get in touch with who is this you that's drinking from the water? Who is this you that's opening up the refrigerator, that's brushing your teeth, that's driving your car? Get a sense of yourself as an observer, and you're observing yourself doing all these things in the world of form. We see like Nicodemus, where he's talking to Jesus. Now here's Jesus. Here he is, a person of, he's a Pharisee. He knows the law. He knows all the rituals and how to do things. He's like, we're people of God. We're here to tell everybody the truth. And yet there was something in Nicodemus that was like, something's missing. There's something that's missing. You're all into the religion, you have all of these things, but there was something missing where he comes at night, the scripture says. He comes at night because at the time he didn't really want to let people know that he wanted to talk to this Jesus. And he goes and he talks to him at night. There's something about this guy. There's something about this presence that's emanating from him, Something was not satisfying. No, I just happen to have handy my certificate for just to prove to you that I'm a disciple of Jesus Christ. That I was baptized in 59, and then I received my first communion in 66, confirmation 71. Of course, now they require a photo ID to prove that this is me, right? And then they didn't put it down here, but they also introduced me that I was a sinner when I was 7. I had to apologize to Mary Leffler. I stole her red crown. Well, I was borrowing it, for crying out loud. Right? It's kind of funny, right? Let's not waste any time. Let's get the 7-year-old kid in here and tell him he's a sinner, right? But when you think about it, right? We get like, as a Catholic, right? We get like baptism and communion and penance and confirmation, you get married or holy orders, whatever. Really? Like what? So, hey, are you a disciple of Jesus Christ? Right here. A disciple of Jesus Christ. No. It's like Nicodemus. There's something more. There's a deeper dimension to who we are beyond all of that. Yeah, those are nice. Those are all, what do they say, right? A sacrament is an outward sign instituted by Christ to give grace, right? Very good. Okay, well then you all get confirmed now. You know the answer to that question. You get tested and then you get confirmed, right? Now those are all nice. How else are they going to do it? But as we grow and develop that question, right? When did you first hear about Jesus Christ? I'm 62. I'll be 63 next month. So I guess it was 7, 8. So I'm working on like 55 years or so. 55 years of knowing and hearing about Jesus Christ. And then I'm asking myself this question. My spiritual development. 55 years of knowing, and how does my spiritual development, my ability to love, my ability to forgive, to be compassionate, to see myself as a spiritual being, how does this growth and development measure up with 55 years? It's an interesting question. To grow and to develop. This deeper dimension. I think that when you listen to Jesus, and I've said this so many times, you cannot, and think of this, you cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. You cannot enter the kingdom of God unless you are born again. So powerful. What is this kingdom of heaven? If it's in our midst, if it's within us, then the kingdom of heaven, again, is not some place that we're going to when we leave our bodies. The kingdom of heaven is a place we come from right now. Right now. It's 9:35. The kingdom of heaven is an experience. It is a state of being that is available to us right now. Wow. What is this kingdom of heaven? It's a deeper dimension of being. It's a way of experiencing being alive, which is the presence of the divine, but on its deepest level. And what's the portal? What's the keyhole? We have a new combination on the front door. And I have to say, I went there the other day and I did it wrong. I'm like, what the heck do we got to change this for? But I did manage to get the code. Pretty simple. What is the code? What is the keyhole? What is the portal? What is the portal? Of all people who should know the code, it should be me, right? It is this living in the state of awareness that I am an invisible spiritual being. There's a great line. You are where your focus is. You ever do that? Try this out whenever you're stressed out and you're bothered. What I do is I always think about my daughter. Whenever I'm bothered and something is bothering me, I just stop and I focus on my daughter, that she can see, that she can think, that she can walk, that she can love. And I immediately feel good. I immediately kind of like, it's my way of re-entering that kingdom whenever I let myself get upset or stressed out by something like that. You are where your focus is. Okay? So, think about this. Where is your focus? Is your focus on being human and the problems and the difficulties and the struggles that we have? Or is your focus that you are an eternal spiritual being? That focus, that shift, is a way of entering into this kingdom. It's a way of being born again. Seeing yourself in a totally different way. You know, like you lost your husband, people that we know who have passed away. Where did they go? You know where they went? They went home. They went home. Now you think about that. We can grieve and you feel the loss of the absence of their presence. But if you think of like living your life as an eternal spiritual being, and I think we almost like left there, came here, and we're here for a while to grow and develop, and one day we're going to leave our bodies, which we call death, which isn't death, our bodies don't work. And where do we go? We go home. And I am absolutely convinced, you know, I had this experience, I shared it a while ago, when I was in Medjugorje, right, where the Blessed Mother was appearing. I believe that I went there, I was very skeptical, I didn't believe it. I was like, I'll go. I was a priest at the time, I was 32 years old, people from the parish went, my parents went. And it was kind of funny, my parents were married 40 years, and this Father Ozo was given this homily about relationships and like crosses and marriages and things like that. So when we celebrated their 40th wedding anniversary in Medjugorje, and I went to one of the local stores and I bought them a cross because the idea was you're each other's cross. Not that like, in other words, what do I mean by that? Like you sacrifice in a marriage, you tolerate and put up with other people's personalities. That a lot of times your partner doesn't necessarily show up the way you would like them to. So that you sacrifice, and through all that you grow. When you think of a cross, it's not a negative thing, it's an opportunity to grow. So we had this picture of the two of them, and I got my arms around them like this. And let's see, so this was 91, because they were married in 51. 1991, I was 32. And they're holding this cross, like, they were like into it. They were each other's cross. But anyway, when I was there and I was skeptical, I was by myself and I'm walking up this apparition hill, which is where these visionaries say that they experienced the Blessed Mother. And I'm walking up by myself, and all of a sudden, like, I got whacked, and I was laughing hysterically. I was crying hysterically. I was emotionally overwhelmed. I couldn't stand up. I had to go over by this rock and sit down. And to this day, I feel like it was so fantastic, I couldn't handle it. And I feel like almost like I was saying, I can't handle it, I can't handle it. But, so I feel like, did I push that spirit away or something like that? But I think it's very often, if people have that experience, it doesn't last very long. And not that I really changed, you know what I mean? It's not like I suddenly became more loving or whatever. But that experience gave me two things. One, I really think that the divine, the spiritual world is so overwhelming that as human beings, I think it's almost like we can't handle it. That's why I think God comes to us in very subtle ways, like you read there about, it wasn't in the fire, it wasn't in the earthquake, but in that gentle whisper. So God, it's almost God piecemeals this presence to us in very subtle ways. It's all around us. Because I think if we got a full dose of God, I don't think we could handle it. I think we would it would be like a beautiful experience. We were watching The Chosen, and there's this scene in it where Nicodemus comes to Jesus and he starts to hug Jesus. And Nicodemus is as the movie portrays, he's having this experience that this is the Christ. And he's hugging him, and he's overwhelmed. He's crying. He's just overwhelmed with emotion. Almost like is he like hugging God, hugging truth? And I think too, what was happening for Nicodemus more powerfully is Nicodemus was getting himself. He was totally himself. And I think of that experience in Medjugorje, I think that's what I got out of that was like, you know what? You're here to be yourself. You're here to allow yourself to be and to grow. And to absolutely, no question about it, there is a spiritual world beyond this form. And we are all in that world. Do you believe that? There is a spiritual world beyond this world of form. And in some ways, not only are we going to that, but we're really already in it, which is what Jesus called the kingdom of heaven is within you. And if you live in that, you experience what Jesus is talking about this morning. Born again. Looking at everything in a brand new way. Now, this is going to happen when we leave our bodies. We're going to have this overwhelming sense of being home and being loved and a sense of belonging. It's going to happen. But I like this line. That which is inevitable is also imminent. So therefore, if that's going to happen when we die, why not be open and allow that to happen right now?